And we go back to our original. Can you hear? I now would like to welcome Delphine Campagnolle from Rouen. And she's going to talk about the evolution of the French National Museum of Education in Rouen.
First of all, I want to thank the Scientific Committee for inviting me in the 15th International Symposium in Ljubljana. I represent my director, Yves Godipo, who sends you his greetings. Before beginning, let's have a look at the map to see where is the city of Rouen. So, not so far from Paris, and not so far from the Channel. Rouen is well known for the cathedrals of the Impressionist painter Claude Monet, but also, it's our wish, for his Museum of Education. As many of you know, the National French Museum of Education knew big evolution since the Symposium in 2009 that took place in Rouen. As in many countries, the Pedagogical Museum, founded by Ferdinand Buisson and Jules Ferry, was a place where the teachers could find the resources to teach, could find an example for educational innovations. The Central Library, joined to the museum, allowed the teachers to find books talking about the organization of education, treaty of education, teaching aid, statistics, etc. The aim of the creators was not to present patrimonial exhibitions. On the contrary, it was consist of school equipment, historical documents linked with education, textbooks coming from France and from other countries. The purpose was to become a better teacher by using the documentary resources. The Department of the Photographic Views, created in 1895, offered the opportunity to borrow the slides as a medium for lessons for pupils, but also for adults. This department became the Department of School Movies in 1925. During the whole century, the museum changed of name, change of institutions. But it is important to remember that the museum has been connected to the INRP, National Institute for Pedagogical Research, that focused on research about education. This is one of the view. The museum, settled in the High Street, increased more and more collections since 1945, in such a point as the building became too small. So, in the 80s, it was decided to undertake a renovation for the Parisian Museum. At the same time, in Normandy, the regional Teachers' Resource Center collected through the country school equipment which were threatened of disappear. So it was decided to gather both collections. So the historical collection arrived to Rouen, and you can have an abstract of different collections. Engravings, furniture of the mutual school, postcards, 4,000 postcards, didactic boards, toys as well, engravings of the school battalion, homework, books, literature youth, and at the same time we had this the school equipment which were collected. The city of Rouen offered a very beautiful old house of the 15th century where a very long heritage restoration began. The offices and the places for the collection were settled in Mont-Saint-Aignan, near Rouen, near the University of Rouen, but unfortunately in old barns. Because of the lack of surface area and the bad conditions of conservation, the collection suffered a lot. These are an historical classroom of our museum, in the room of the Christian school, the Historia of Jean-Baptiste de la Salle, the room linked with the certificate of primary school exhibition, and those are some photographs of our reserves before the new museum that I'm going to show now. So there is no need to explain to you and to the researchers who came to the reserve of Mont-Saint-Aignan that we need new ones, more professional, with more space, more prevention for the collection, more control of temperature, control of humidity, etc. So the INRP accepted to create a new place to have a resource center for the collection. The region of Haute-Normandy gave the disused engineers school, and a collection renovation was planned for the moving of the museum. During 2 years, the activities were dedicated to that purpose. It finished in 2011. The architectural planning of the 6th Street of Biorel offered the museum a remarkable place for preventive conservation and research. The contemporary architecture, designed by the studio of Nicolas Famy, includes not only the collection, but also the scientific and the documentary activities. So 5 reserves on about 2,600 meters square conserve collection according to different technology on materials, since the textbooks, on the literature until pupil writing desk, photo, games and toys, lantern slide, etc., etc. That is for the textbooks and the literature into compactors. One example, as well one example of the literature with the Marshall Patent during the Second World War. For the movies, 300 movies, not digitized yet. The reserve for didactic boards, engravings, for projection in class, photograph views, and an amazing corpus talking about education. For example, teachers learning physical education to become a good soldier. This is an important collection called Childhood and Teenage series of the National Pedagogical Institute, and you have a report on a nursery school. Some beautiful photographs. This is a furniture reserve. Second one, scientific instruments, and as you can see, you have got the big Earth machine used in the class. Teaching help for biology, physics, our reserves for games and toys, magic school. And as well, we have got a lot of games linked with the First World War. And the key point of our documentation center is certainly the possibility for researchers, teachers, students to see and study the original works of art and original documents which arrive directly from the reserve toward the study room. This access is permitted also thanks to our database and our website, Action and Revision. To date, half of the collection is digitized, and it's nearly 1 million items of the collection, half 1 million. So we want a new useful for the study room with people coming to discover the wealth of our collection. We'd like to receive more people and more individuals because we think that a museum of education can be interesting for every citizen and not for only researchers and teachers. That's the reason why we organize cultural activities, of course in the museum you saw, but as well in the center of documentation. In front of 20 or 30 items, one member of the scientific staff received people to present a topic linked with education. Before, this activity were only for researchers or teachers. This profound restructuration was also an institutional change since the dissolution of the INRP in 2010. By decree, the National Museum of Education integrate the Centre National de Documentation Pédagogique, who has the mission of documentary production for teaching. In that context, we'd like as well to work with pupils and to make them touch with gloves the collection. In that context, so some purpose must interest the educational community, not only the researcher, but also the future teachers, who can find in some experience example for their teaching. It is interesting to consider now how the collection of our museum gets organized. 6 mainline structure our museum. They are directly an heritage of the pedagogical museum. As you see, dedicated to the history of education, material culture of school, history of the content and teaching methods, means of teaching, school custom and child into the family and the society. To finish the presentation about our evolution, about our topics, I'd like to say a few words about collection linked with the teachers and their association as promoters of pedagogic movement. In the first purpose, I want to present an outstanding collection in connection with teaching in France before the First World War. It is the Ozouf collection, of the name of the couple of historians, Jacques and Mona Ozouf. 4,000 investigation questionnaires coming from primary school teachers. For example, you have a questionnaire here. With this one, there's a little short answer. What's your name, your date of birth, whom have you been raised, why did you become a teacher, etc. How was your career? Did you have any problem with the mayor of the village, with the population, etc. The conditions of life of the French teacher, it's very interesting to read those questionnaires. And some questions. What were your political, your philosophical ideas? And you, as you can see, the teacher didn't want to answer. But we have got different answers. For instance, this answer talk about a teacher who was in Tunisia, and the answer of Raymond Talon is very amazing because he gave to Jacques Ozo, the Historia, 5 notebooks. So it's very interesting to read. The second one, corpus concerns the Freinet collection, 100 of drawings, 100 of children's creation, which respect the free expression, the imagination of the child. The collection is also composed of equipment recommended by Célestin Freinet inside his association, the linotype, but also the questionnaire where the child could answer by himself, and the publication of Célestin Freinet made up the most important collection dedicated to Freinet in France. Advice as well for parents. And I can't forget the 25,000 schools newspaper written and printed by the pupils since 1927, coming from France and from the colonies. The printing was a way for connecting other schools and for hearing the words of children. Those documents could find an extension today with the blogs and internet and with the social networks when they are used in class. How Museum of Education must conserve as well those signs of education and those signs of new knowledge. And to finish, I'd like to present our last session coming from a teachers' association called the Germaine Tortel Association. This teacher who became inspector in the nursery schools developed a pedagogy called initiation, where the teachers built with the children in concomitance a pedagogical project during 1 year. As testimony of the work, an album made by the teachers which sum up the stage of the project, the words of the kids and their works, paintings, drawing, poetry. At the end of the year, the work of the children and the albums were brought at the association in Paris to be shown and to be criticized during meetings with other teachers of this association. More than 2,000 albums arrived last week in Rouen after a choice we made with the teachers of the association. Unfortunately, this pedagogic movement is not enough known because Germaine Tortel didn't publish and the teachers who worked with her are very old now and retired people, so it will be our job in the museum to make this pedagogy emerge from one's obscurity. So you see as well this pedagogy want to go outside the school, so as the project was about the train, the kids made a letter to visit the Rouen station, and we have the answer and the letter of the kid. And the result, because they made a wagon. And how we're living an evolution or return to basics in Rouen. It may be conceived that the original intention of the pedagogical museum were respected thanks to a library and a study room and the access to the documentary production for teaching as it was at the beginning of the story. But today, the behavior of searching, of gathering information, and also of visiting museums have changed a lot thanks to internet. The change of supervision for the museum offers new opportunities. Indeed, the scientific activities are maintained, but also the National Museum benefits from CNDP network that counts one center in each region of France. We could imagine itinerant exhibition all over the territory and also new ways of meeting people and meeting teachers. At last, the expertise of the CNDP about digital technology used in education will help us to think about the digital creation in a museum. As a result, in 2014, our museum will have a classroom of future to be compared at the classroom of Jules Ferry, while a new exhibition will explore the part of educative technology since the using of radio, of television during the 60s in class, until the arrival of computing in the 80s, and nowadays the using of serious games, internet and social networks in education, at school and at home. As you can imagine, the change is a bit frightening, but also it is a real fresh boost for us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Delphine.